Saturday morning cartoons, Popspective. Thank you for hanging out with me again this week. A time where I can go watch a couple of old cartoons. We can talk about them, we can break them down, and just reminisce a little bit. X-Men animated series will kick off today. There will not be a Batman episode this week. I do apologize, scheduling issues and stuff on my end of things. But yes, back next week. Back next week. But this is one I thought I was going to do like a two-parter with two things. It just didn't work out. I ended up getting nothing done last week. So here we go. X-Men animated series. This episode is well, let's be honest. Cyclops thinks he's an orphan. That's pretty much it. And I wish I could tell you that this is a good episode or something I can really really spin my wheels in. We get a little bit of flashback from sort of like the backstory with Jean and the Dark Phoenix saga, the Phoenix and the Dark Phoenix saga, the Shi'ar Empire, and some of that. Because during that was when we had the battle over the crystal, and it came into the introduction of the starjammers and Cyclops' dad, which he doesn't know. He does not know. Jean knows because she's swimming around in everybody's minds. It's like not particularly polite, but um not much goes on in this episode other than just sort of like a conversation about um, Scott's origins. So you end up with basically just spaceship attacking spaceship over Earth, um, spaceships going down. Storm and Cyclops are the only two real featured X-Men in this episode. They see this, they intercede, and they rescue him. Now, at this point, and you can see Storm. This is Storm using her power so the ship won't sink. While Cyclops just kind of jumps in to save the day. Um, what is interesting is um, how much information nobody has. And this is one of my problems with storytelling is sometimes writers really get lazy with this, and the story only works if no one will talk to the other people, or there's a bold faced lie or withholding of information. I can't stand that type of storytelling. I think it's extremely weak. This is one of my biggest criticisms with elements in Stranger Things, like season 2, season 3. I think the show it's really really good, but can't get out of their own way with characters who are just either not telling the truth or holding back information, things like that. This episode only exists because nobody bothered to. Jean never got around to telling Scott. She never felt it was her place. There's too much time being caught up over the Phoenix saga and all of that, so that the creators just dumped this episode in. This is a complete filler episode, other than, well, guess what? Cyclops finds out he has a dad. And what's weird is even though he's getting information, he doesn't necessarily change how he reacts to situations, which I thought was kind of weird. Um, I got to be honest, I think early on, some of the animation is fine, but there are times where the animation is, not particularly good. And you have sort of like this constant, like, walking on eggshells with Scott. Like Scott just can't handle this concept of you're an absent dad, and what did you do? And I thought everybody was dead, and we like the Shi'ar, so you're the bad guy in this equation. And it's like there's no pause of getting facts and getting information. The famous Ronald Reagan, love him or hate him comment about trust but verify. Like you have your information, trust it, now fact check it, now look into it. That really is a great principle with just about everything, and it will prevent you from wasting time and resources or putting someone or yourself in harm's way. And this episode just relies on Scott just being an emotional roller coaster. Um, One of the flaws of this episode is even with the introductions and the time that we've had with the Shi'ar Empire, we really only care about Lalandra. All of these other characters, I'm into all of this and I don't care. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm a comic book nerd and I'm into the characters and who people are and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sort of like, yeah, whatever. Because you end up with okay, we care about Corsair. Corsair is like the dad, right? But then you have these other characters around and you're like, all right, whatever. I mean, Ragnar is like the villain, but he's just sort of like this generic, expendable Shi'ar villain. He's not really overly mean. He's just sort of like manipulative. And then there's just like, it's just this constant attack stuff going on. But there's so much time wasted in this episode. It is very choppy. The animation is very inconsistent, other than like frames like this. Like the cells in the panels where they do close-ups are fine. But I noticed like this, like see how on Storm her earrings are upside down. I don't, maybe I'm nitpicking, but I'm 90% sure they're the other direction. So the top of the lightning bolt is at the earlobe and they go to the point. I know that it's nitpicking, but it's like that's the type of stuff. Plus, her hair is down in this episode where it hasn't normally been down, which is not awful. In the comic book, she has a completely different thing. This is the flashback to the parents and how they save Scott and Alex, the brother, right? Which is all fine. I thought all of this was fine. Um, and then at the last second, they were sort of like transported away, and then you have Scott going back and forth. But it's still a lot of like not really trust but verify. There's still a lot of back and forth about what's going on. Scott never reaches out from help from other X-Men. Storm never calls for other X-Men. She never actually pushes back against Scott like, hey, by the way, I think we should ask for extra help. I mean, this episode lasts about 2 minutes if you have Xavier or Jean do a mind check. That's all. Just do a quick mind check of Corsair and what's going on. Do some fact checking. That's all you have to do. Okay, again, I want to go back to that panel here. I just think that this show has done a really good job. And again, as bad as this show is, again, I want to make sure I'm perfectly clear. When I'm bagging on X-Men, I'm bagging on it relative to the other X-Men episodes. Uh, its worst episodes will be superior to many, many, if not most other shows, especially that are contemporary for kids. Like I've talked briefly about shows like The Real Ghostbusters, which I actually think is a fun, silly show, but it's for like 7 year olds. Like it's not like this. This was written for kids, but this is more like, I mean, I think my grandkids are going to enjoy this show because I really haven't spent much time trying to integrate X-Men into it for them. But I would say that this is like a lot more mature storytelling. The life lessons are a lot deeper. Scott dealing with being, him thinking that he's an orphan, finding his dad. Some of these dynamics I think are great. I just wish the visual execution was a lot better. It's just not always great. And like I said, you just end up having the random Shi'ar showing up, doing their thing, and you just don't care. And then out of the blue, she's just on the other team. And she has this quick little comment about what she's doing and why she's doing it. And it's all about a cover up. It's all about this secret plan that Ragnar has. And she's going to help. And you're like, what, wait, I'm confused. What is happening? Um, So anyway, it's fine. Like I said, it's not the worst episode in the world of cartoons, but it's not a great episode for cartoon. I mean, for X-Men. They had a little secret plan of how it ends, and at the end of the day, and I thought it was awkward. It's so weird. It's like, well, can't you stay an extra day, Dad? Can't you spend some time with me, Dad? Well, I guess we could go a little bit faster in that hyperdrive. Sure, son. Let's talk about your mom. And you're like, oh, it was just it's so subpar to how good the show can be and usually is. Um, Douglas Booth wrote this episode. I don't know that I am going to bag on Douglas Booth in this. It's really being like a bad writer because it's just an episode that just seems like it just everything sort of got away with it, away from them on that. So, um, I know there's a lot of back and forth with the studio, like what Fox wanted to do, what Marvel wanted to do. So some of that could have been in it as well. Then there's also like a massive delay between this episode and when the next one airs. This airs at the end of February, and there's not a new episode until like May. And I thought, well, that was weird because uh, I can understand it during the summer. Like they took the summer off, But this is all of that still predates the summer. So why was there a delay? And I didn't have time to figure out why we had all of March and April off, that there was nothing going on. Um, anyway, so I just thought these are the little details for me that don't, I guess I can say, don't add up or don't work for me. Um, I just, and and I've said before, and I'll stand by it. I'm not this massive fan of the Shi'ar Empire type stuff and some of that kind of stuff. I just think it's just all okay. So that's part of the problem uh, for me personally. But I love your thoughts. Um, are you enjoying the fact that we go back and we talk about the cartoons? Because I mean, if you haven't rewatched X-Men animated series, it isn't really outdated. It definitely doesn't feel like a show that you can't still enjoy. There are going to be dips with episodes that are sort of like lesser. Because if you had to rank them all, right? So if we ranked all the episodes, I don't know exactly what episode we'd be on. Let me pull that up real quick here while we're chatting. If you had to rank them all, just because it's near the lower, let's say the lower quarter or lower third, that doesn't mean they're not good. It's just they're not as good as other episodes. So we've gone through season 1 and season 2 have 13 apiece, right? So that's 26, and this is episode 16 of Orphan's End. So we're in the 40s. So like we're on 42 episodes. So if we had to rank 42 episodes, 42, is this probably in the bottom 15? Yep. Is it in the bottom 5? Don't know. Don't know. Again, it, it's just generic. It's not bad. It's just generic. So that's my take on it. I love hearing from you guys. Make sure you check out Saturday. There's playlists in the description there if you want to go back and watch some of the older videos, or you want to get a little Batman fix on one you might have missed. Batmans are good. Or you just want to make a recommendation or a comment. I love them. I love having them. And appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. Take care. I am Pops.
Our show will begin after these messages.
Strange and powerful forces are attracting people to Pizza Hut. It's the Marvel Comics X-Men video with a mini comic book, pull-out poster, and trading card, all for only $4.99 with any pizza purchase. There are 2 video packs to collect, so hurry and get your claws on them.
Oh, I'll wrap that up.
Exclusively at Pizza Hut.
Run, it's Dreadwing!
And Dreadwing's twice as deadly.
Dreadwing is punishing, his Gatling gun is killing. The Decepticon bomber's a transformer rummer, a 3-in-1 villain that's chilling. Combat tank and sonic jet transform into double trouble robot. The missiles go boom, smelling certain doom if they take apart the awesome Autobot.
Autobots, help!
No one can save you from triple-changing Dreadwing.
Transformers Generation 2. Dreadwing is all you see here. Other figures sold separately.
They've got Wolverine.
They've got Storm!
Even Beast.
Right where those mutants belong.
In a can. New from Chef Boyardee, all your favorite X-Men in pasta shapes and excellent sauce. We got 'em. And only you can set them free. New X-Men pasta. It's not just a meal, it's an adventure.